Hey guys, and welcome back to Content is Profit. Today is a very different episode. Last week, I had the opportunity to hop on a call with two of our Business Creator Club founding members, and it was exciting. It was a call to get to know them and get to see, what they're currently doing, what do they need help with, and it turned out to be a very fun call. And then their feedback was incredible. They love the format and they love the things that we talked about and where we want to take the community. So we thought it was useful for the people out there listening to us or watching us to consume. So if you have any lessons, if you have any comments, if you have any type of feedback based on today's episode, let me know. We have two of these, so make sure to listen to both of them. They're both very specific case studies, different from each other, but I think there's a lot of lessons that we can take from this. So super stoked. If you're not yet in our Facebook community, you can go to facebook.com and search Content is Profit Facebook group. We're there. We just wrapped up running a 17-day challenge. But if you want to be part of the Business Creator Club, which is a step up based on that, it's businesscreator.club, and we'll see you there. Oh, and I almost forgot. I did not record on Zoom when we were doing this, and lucky us, we were recording in our note taker, or AI note taker. So the recording that you're about to watch, if you listen, I don't think there's an issue. But if you're watching, it's gonna look like you're watching a film from the 80s. So, anyways, I apologize obviously for the quality, but I think as far as like the content goes and the conversation, it doesn't take away. But that's why if you're watching it, it's gonna look a little bit different. All right, with that, enjoy the episode. How do you find us? Like originally, was it through the show?
Yeah, so I honestly, it's kind of corny. I even remember, but I remember walking the gym one day, and I was just I think it was on Spotify, and then I searched content because I've just been really absorbed with content and things like that. And you guys came up. I don't remember what episode I listened to. And then I just started listening to your podcast from there, off and on.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you. I'm glad that hopefully you're still listening.
I am. Yeah. I think like my favorite one was when you guys had that newsletter series that was like 3 episodes in that. I was like, man, I enjoy kind of, I don't know. I'm still, like experimenting, figuring out what I really love, but having a newsletter was something I really want to do. And I finally started to do that recently.
No, absolutely, dude. That's awesome. So yeah, that with, I forget his name, Nate, maybe? I can't remember.
I think, yeah.
He was like an MVP, and that's something that we bring back like every year because of the feedback that we get from that episode. Is he literally like said everything. And I'm kind of sad because they were not able to release the workbook that he mentions there with HubSpot. So that never came out. And I'm like, dude, Nate, do you have it? Like, can we like share it? And he's like, yeah, well, he's been working on something for like local business. We brought him back and we talked about local businesses for like local newsletters, like very niche location wise. Yep. That was really good too. But I'm like, man, like that would have been, I think they saw the value of it. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to keep it for ourselves.
It was, I mean, like those episodes were really valuable. And I remember just feeling, like pumped, more like it's possible. Recently, just before losing my job, I paid for Matt McGarry's newsletter course. And so that's kind of what I've been going through as I do this, but yeah.
Awesome. So like, so you said you lost your job and then now you're like trying to focus on creating content full time, or are you looking for opportunities? Like walk me through a little bit of kind of what you're doing.
Yeah, I would say, to be honest, all of the above, but so I've been kind of creating content off and on for the last year. And then even before that, I was dabbling with just in LinkedIn, burn myself out of, and then I, took a break, and here I am again. And now I think as I started taking that newsletter course, I also lost my job. And then, I was really confused on what direction to go, what to do. And I think just losing that was like, okay, I just need to focus on, if I have this skill in UI, UX design, product design, then maybe I should just focus on something that's helpful for those, that niche, or even if that is a niche really anymore. But that just kind of helped me focus. And now I'm trying to really kind of scrape through that and get to some sort of monetization, or, being able to offer that my services, and kind of include that in there, and really just trying to figure that out. So my focus has been trying to focus at least on LinkedIn, for like a discovery type of platform. And then I've also been dabbling in YouTube for a while now.
Okay.
And I think now that I've lost my job, I've kind of gone into doing short form video a little bit more, since I have more time, instead of just doing writing and then a long form video. I think the cadence has changed with all of those things, as I'm trying to figure out like what I can handle without imploding.
Yeah.
But
That makes
yeah,
sense.
I know you guys are like the MV, your
The
minimum.
minimum viable content.
Yeah. So, I try to keep that in mind, but I know it's so easy for me to get carried away, and then where to draw the line.
Oh yeah, you're not the only one, man. I promise you. Like you probably heard the episode, but it's like 3 years trying to like get it. We had like this image of this amazing content map, and to this day, right, like that, I don't think that goes away, because you see all over the industry people that might be creating some kind of cool content or like higher volume, but we don't really understand kind of like what the resources are. And then we always go back to, okay, what is the thing that is working, for us right now based on the goals. But no, that's awesome, man. Well, I'm glad that you're at least experimenting and kind of moving the needle forward. So will you mind sharing like your YouTube channel, like at all? Or is that something that maybe we can take a peek?
You want me to share my screen or share the link, or both?
If you want to share the link, yeah, I'll open it over here too.
Yeah, I got you.
That's awesome. So what will be, well, I guess I skipped this whole part, but like, I guess the goal of today is answering any questions, obviously that you have. Hopefully we can. If not, I can send you to the right person. But also, I want to learn a little bit about the initial members of the club, because that's basically what we're designing it for you. So we've done, like 600 plus episodes. We have our own content frameworks. We have like our flow. We have the studio. So it got to the point, like completely honestly, that it was super overwhelming to, like, because there's so many topics. Content is like, oh yeah, it's so niche, but no, once you go into content, it's like you've seen it, rabbit hole here, rabbit hole there. So we've had a really tough challenge to kind of pinpoint like the starting point of the group and figure out, and that's why it was a little delayed. So right now we're running the challenge, started today on the group, also in part to kind of trigger and reactivate the people in the Facebook group into publishing, into action, and then also discover like what is the problem that we can solve the fastest for you guys. So that's the intention behind this. And obviously open book, if you have any specific questions, man, I'm happy to answer based on what we've done, and go from there.
Yeah. I think one of my biggest struggles really, I signed up for this local entrepreneur type group, and I went to this inner circle meeting, and of course that was super scary. I was really sweaty, going in a room with people. But I realized one thing is like, I don't know how to basically say what I'm doing in an outcome kind of format too, online or in person.
Okay.
Yeah, and just like, yeah, hey guys, I'm a product designer. I design this or that or whatever, and I can explain what I've done. But it's like, what people don't really always understand that, and it's so it's like,
yeah,
it's hard to kind of focus down on like what your offering is sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially when you're trying to figure out like what that initial offer could be like, right? Like,
yeah,
we struggled for the longest time trying to figure out like what to sell. And we're like, we know we can help people. And like, we went the service route because it was like the fastest path to cash for us. We're like, okay, people are going to pay us and then we're going to execute a service. And then that evolved, right? Like that evolved from us going to physical, like brick and mortars and shoot from there and help them with their social media content. It helped that I already had previous relationship with local businesses because I was running a local business. So we started there. And then obviously with COVID, everything closed and we decided to launch the podcast because we had somebody in our online community that was, pressuring us to do it. He's like, why don't you guys do this? I think like you'll be okay. And we're like, sure. That's all we needed. And that's where we actually found kind of like our stride, right? With consistency, which was number one. And then as you start stacking like those little wins of, okay, I got this video out, you master, I guess, like the production process of it, where it's like, okay, how can I get it out the best way possible with the least amount of like time at that moment, because we needed the other time to kind of continue to build. But what happened was we started shifting our perspective on like, how do we see audience? So, we put the content out there, maybe the YouTube videos that I'm here on your channel, which by the way, looks awesome. Looks very professional. So congrats.
It's been a long, work in progress and just exploring.
Yeah, man. And it's part of the journey. So we have, the audience, which is, these people see your content and maybe they're interested, right? But you have this pool of like core audience, and only about 3% of those are almost like ready to buy today, right? So it's like really slim, the possibility that some of them might click on any of our videos. Mm-hmm. And that's why you see people like Alec or Mosey like speak about volume, right? Or maybe Gary, volume, right? It's to be present there. But it's challenging because we expect, that 3% to click almost every single time. And then maybe when our videos might have X amount of views, whatever, that means that maybe we need to do more. We need to get better as creators. So it's like this circle of like, oh man, like, how do we do it? So how we bypass that was like, okay, we offer a service, but at the same time, it's like we need to talk to the decision maker, or the decision maker has to see the content. So we're like, well, what's the best way to do that? It's like, do it with them. So we were like, okay, and we landed on this by accident, by the way. Like it was like after episode 10, the guest was like, hey guys, what do you guys do? And we're like, oh, well, I don't know if it's for you, but we do this. And at the time we said, I think like fractional content team or fractional content production. So we're like, hey, if you guys record any type of long form video, we can clip it for you. And this is like 2020. So, before COVID, before even shorts was a thing, like this is before vertical content. And the guy was like, we were so lucky that he was the one that needed that service. So he's like, and he's still with us today, which is crazy. But we're like, we connected with the person that through our content. So he's audience member number one because we're creating it with him. So he's seeing everything that we talk about. And then we just like guided the conversation. So from that moment on, we made it a commitment to be like, okay, after every single conversation, we're gonna pitch, but not like the service. We're going to pitch a collaboration. So it went almost like, hey, thank you so much for coming. This was amazing. Logistics of the show, it goes out next week and there's going to be content coming to you. And by the way, we do this. I don't know if this might apply to you, but we would love to collaborate and explore the possibilities and see how we can work together. And then I will give some examples. I'll be like, that could look like, I can send you people. You can send me people. That could look like maybe you need the service, right? That could mean like we can teach your team because we knew how to do the thing. So what are the ways to monetize that thing was like either we teach it to their team, we execute it as a service, or we're a referral partner for them, for example, if they do that. And we were bringing guests that we kind of spotted online and we knew from, an online community or like what was like a common spot that we had with them. And we thought it could be a potential customer. So we started in the ClickFunnels community. So I don't know if you're familiar with ClickFunnels, but we started from that world.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely, ClickFunnels is what Brandon's book or what's his name or
Russell
Branson's product. Yeah. I'm familiar.
So that's kind of like how we started in this like online world is through those books. So we were in their Facebook group. We attended a couple of events. So we started meeting people. So from those groups, we started bringing them into the show because we're like, well, if they're there, they're investing in that tool. They might be investing in their business. They're already in a place where like investment might not be as much of a friction point. And we started kind of bringing them in that way. So in your specific case, it's like, okay, whether that's your YouTube channel or shorts or writing the newsletter, for example, like your content, doesn't matter what format it is, that's your vehicle to collab. So in a newsletter, for example, you could call, let's use us as an example, be like, hey, Luis, you see me as a prospect for a partnership, for an opportunity, for working together, refer. Hey, Luis, I'm writing a piece. I have a newsletter that goes out 3 times a week. And we're writing about these topics that are relevant in our industry. And I've seen your work. I would love for you to collaborate with me. Like, do you mind hopping on a 15-minute call where, I'll just ask you a couple of questions and go from there.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting approach because it's just 15 minutes. I'll even challenge to do like an 11-minute call. I think that's even better. Like we get a lot of good responses with that one.
Yeah.
But our pitch is on that 11-minute call is then to do the interview, which is 1 hour. But for you, like you could have, for a newsletter article, you could probably have like 3 questions and then you knock it out like right there. And what happens is like after that collaboration moment, which for us is the show, but for you is like the call for the newsletter, you gather the content for the newsletter, which is going to be good because, you're vetting that content, but also be like, hey, Luis, that was awesome. And thank you for answering those 3 questions. It's going to come out in the newsletter of so-and-so. And we're always looking for ways to collaborate. So, let's say in the newsletter world, like how can we collaborate? So it could be, maybe they have an email list, be like, hey, do you mind, sharing the newsletter with your newsletter, right? Like what are some ways? And then again, we don't have a newsletter, so I'm not super familiar with what can we do, but it's like, how do we show in front of their audience, for example?
Right.
Or also that's one, if you want to find the traffic, but be like, hey, I don't know if this applies to you, which in your head, you probably know that it does because you invited that person. I don't know if this is for you, but I do XYZ. So the service that you might be selling. So, hey, I do UX design, or I've done this and that. And I would love for us to partner something. So I would love to hop on a call. Can you do tomorrow?
Yeah.
Right. And they'll be like, oh, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe Friday. Right. And then in that call, that will be kind of like your discovery call where it's like, hey, let me show you. I always play it as let me show you a demo. Let me show you like kind of the work that we do and how we do it.
Yeah.
And when we looked at behind the scenes, a lot of people are like, oh man, like you guys really know what you're doing. So that's like one of the first comments. I'm like, oh, thank God we kind of, that helped. And then that helped kind of move it forward. So maybe that's a way. It's like, okay, fastest path to cash. It's like, how do you connect through your content? And again, you're not going to stop publishing the content. It will still go out. It's just faster to connect with that person while you create. And then the content eventually is going to start like getting momentum as you get better, right? Because like there's different things like messaging and distribution. It's like, where do we put it out? How do we get new audience, right? And people are getting really smart, right? Like if it's not like really good content, people are just going to be ruthless. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a couple people I've if I see maybe similar ties in our audiences and things like that, then I will try to have conversations with them. I guess it's just like maybe finding those people sometimes can be difficult, or maybe it's just that I'm trying to spread myself too thin and then I don't notice those things that are so obvious, because I'm trying to do so many different things at the same time. I don't know.
Do you mind, like we have like this you probably heard of the episode, the 6 levers. Do you mind if we go over like each one of them and you tell me, hey, yeah, I'm doing this here, for example, and then we can diagnose a little bit on that side and be like, maybe you come up with your new focus if that's something that you're looking for. But before we go, there's 2 books. This book here, Exactly What to Say.
Exactly what's this? Yeah. Who is the author of that?
This guy, Phil M. Jones. So he wrote it as a workbook for like a workshop that he did in a company and then published it as a book. So good. Very short. So good. This was the book that triggered action for us on like, I don't know if this is for you, but it's awesome. So highly recommend. And there's another book is over there, so I can't grab it, but it's called The Ultimate Sales Machine. Is by Amanda Holmes. It's the daughter of Chet Holmes. So Chet Holmes wrote the edition 1. He worked with Tony Robbins for a long time, and then Amanda took over the company when her dad passed, and then we worked with her for a couple of years. And the book, I did not know how big that book was until we worked with her, and it's like a roadmap on the business and sales side. They call it the Red Bible. It's crazy, and it was like they sold their product to big executives in like the Panasonics of the world. So those are their customers. So it's not like an online influencer type thing. Like these guys have been at it for 30 plus years, and the book is incredible. The Ultimate Sales Machine. So highly, highly recommend it.
Okay.
Which Amanda already said that she's going to come talk to the group. So it's very exciting because she's so cool. So yeah, so those two. Okay. So I guess on the first side is like, what's your goal with content, right? Like what's your ultimate goal?
Yeah. Ultimate goal, I think right now is to find some sort of, I guess, funnel towards some sort of either client income or monetization, or I guess like some sort of income in general right now.
Okay.
If that's a good answer.
So money, we need to make money.
I mean, sadly right now, yes, while still delivering, value and things like that and enjoying the process along the way and all of those things, I think right now it's just, that's become such a pressure.
Yeah, no, makes total sense. Which by the way, don't feel bad because a lot of us have been in that position many times. So don't you worry. Okay. So how can you help people?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's been, so right before I started this whole newsletter thing, there's been two things I was fighting myself with. Is I'm going to try to give you the short answer, but I know we both like to talk a lot on something that overshare sometimes. But like one is like, I've got into this career in 2020. I don't have a college degree. I worked customer service all my life. And I think like I was so interested now reflecting on that moment of change that I really enjoy. And there's that rebellious tone of like, how can we get other people through this change that may not either have college or just want to do like a skill-based career or just that sort of thing. So that's one idea I really struggle with, of not knowing what to do. I don't enjoy of things like, oh, this is the perfect resume or portfolio, but really just like almost like a coach in a way of like that mental sort of growth and change. And then it really is like the other thing that I've been doing is that skill of UI UX design, is that how do we translate these problems in your business and what can we do in your product, whether that's an app or a website or whatever, to improve that user experience, that are foundational, psychological things that can, improve your churn rates or stop users from dropping off at this specific point, whether that's, X, Y, or Z. Or things like that, something you said was, like when you guys are starting this fractional position, and through my career, specifically the last job, there was this lady that was a fractional marketing officer. And I was like, man, I'd love to get to this fractional product or design or whatever that name may be, but that consultant that people can just come to for strategy and deploying things, but will still get their hands dirty.
Okay.
It's a lot.
So no, it's good. Is this something that you were already doing like in your job, or like you had a job that was kind of in the industry and this was something that you were like working on?
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing similar things, like a lot of, the last place I worked was a startup in Scottsdale. They had a mobile app that was basically networking startups with founders. And some of those examples of projects were like, how can we integrate AI into our onboarding and wow investors to keep them hooked, and then start utilizing AI throughout the app and doing the actual design of that to where I'm handing that off to developers to code. So that could be, that can be anywhere from like research to actually designing that all out to prototyping that. But yeah, I think why I say strategy and that other, I just love that part of it, the user experience, getting into people's heads, understanding weird, deep things about people.
Yeah.
They do things more than, visual design or graphic design type of things.
Okay. Uh, so let's say money and like the maybe the urgency of money is not an issue, right? Like, what would you want to do? So you said you have the strategy, like almost like a strategy consultant type deal. Have you done that in the past?
I've done not directly. No, I would say not directly. This is kind of where I would love to take my career going forward. And in just having that freedom, more of that entrepreneur type thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
So not directly, I would say not directly as like an actual job title or something like that, but I've done related things that are around that and experimented with things on my own.
Yeah. Makes sense. What do you consider the main problem your dream customer has? So like you had already experience with people that have these problems that you can solve, right? Whether that is at a strategy capacity or executing, right? The strategy, you're probably like, hey, this is the steps 1, 2, 3 that we can do. And I've done it. Right. What would that be?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I would say, a very specific thing I've noticed with either with working with a business or something like that, or even, I see this even with, new designers as well. So kind of back and forth, but sometimes people will be unsure. Let's say they have a specific problem in their business. Maybe that's, like I mentioned, like their drop off rates are huge. Why are so many customers churning? And then what can we do in our product to resolve that? Can we fix our onboarding? Is there a leaky part in that onboarding? Or just kind of what can we do in the design of our actual product to address, a specific need, whatever that may be, because there's a million metrics that people are concerned about. So I guess I've kind of focused on maybe startups or smaller companies. I don't, I don't know if that's right or wrong, or if that answers your question.
No, I mean, it looks like you've been giving me some clues, right? There are people that already have a product to sell, right? Like, have you ever defined like your dream customer before or?
Yeah. So, ChatGPT's kind of become my best friend and
Yeah.
trying to define things like that, or like your persona or your ICP or whatever you want to label that. But yeah, I think lately when I've specifically like with this newsletter thing, I've really tried to kind of focus on that. And I've called them like this. They're this visionary doer where they're probably at a similar age, maybe 20s through 40s. They may either want to, have their own product, do their own startup, or they are a founder kind of in that. And they're just confused on some of those things that I mentioned. Maybe they don't know what to do with their app in general, where to start, or they have problems that they're trying to fix, like I mentioned, and address that maybe, with their users as far as, and I keep saying drop off or churn rates or things like that, but just like things like that. I also like the idea of how can we bring some good mindset and self-improvement things into that to just make this like because I'm passionate about that. I'm trying to always tie that into everything and not just one thing all the time. I know I guess I get fight myself with focusing on such a tiny thing.
Okay. It's interesting because you mentioned, visionary doers, maybe people that are starting like a startup or are building, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the interesting, like this is what we found in our initial like 100 calls that we did with like the community that we're coming from. We thought because they were in that community, they have cash. So when we started selling the service, what happened, it was like a few of them could afford it, but then same thing, like they were working on the back end. So we were coming through production. The belief was like, hey, we handle production, then everything else is going to come, right? Like people or audiences are going to come, right? But then they had no CRM to capture those leads, for example, right? Or there was no system or no product, or maybe the product was not proven and they sold maybe 5 of them and then they didn't have a high ticket offer. They don't have a way to upsell that person, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe they don't have a project management tool, or, they had one VA and that's it. So there was like a lot, we're like, wow, like by solving this one problem, now we're uncovering others, and they're not the ideal customer for that specific product. They might be the ideal customer to like learn the frameworks, but they're not the ideal customer to bring the production. Because what happens is like, even if we bring the production, let's say they collect 1,000 leads tomorrow, they don't have a way to capture or communicate with them. Or so what happens is like, oh, this is not working because it's not generating money, right? So that was like a huge eye opener for us. And we started like trying to align with like, okay, who can we bring? Like who? So we're like, okay, well, the filters of those conversations is they have to have a business that's at least 3 years old. They have to have a high ticket offer that is proven that they've sold. They have to have worked with editors before, so they know the pain, right? They want to be on camera. That's another qualifier, because like we worked with people that they're like, yeah, we want to do content, but they hated being on camera. So we're like, well, why are we even doing this? Like we had to chase them to get them on camera, right? There's like all these things that we discover. So I think as you think about this, is like, okay, like what's the least friction for you to execute something like this? Maybe it's like a very specific problem that you already solved or you know how to do. You keep mentioning, churn or drop-off rates, and be like, hey, what company has a system that we can help fix that one issue? But let's say if you fix the drop-off rate of an Orange Theory, for example, which is the sweater I'm wearing today, right? They can deploy that across 1,000 studios nationwide and then make $1 million, right? In a day. Easy. So it's like, okay, who's that customer? And it could be like a very custom specific solution initially, instead of like trying to design the whole thing, because I can already see if there's a startup that you're designing this whole experience, but they haven't proved the product or they haven't sold it yet, or they don't even have a product. It will be very challenging for them to pay you. So unless it's like a Y Combinator startup and they have a budget to do this, right? That could be the other way, right? And again, I don't know what the connections or the community that you might be in could be. Like we had a Y Combinator customers and they were like, look guys, like we have the budget to test this for 6 months. And guess what? At the end of the 6 months, their product wasn't working. So they cut everything. Even the CEO was fired. So, but it was a cool 6 months. We learned a ton, right? Yeah. But again, I encourage you, like, okay, what is that customer? So what I have on my notes, you were like, okay, they initial qualifications, right? They already have a proven product, for example. How much are they selling of that? Do they need to be above a certain threshold of selling that product, right? Is it an expensive product? So, for somebody like the people in the Ultimate Sales Machine that they sell a $60,000 to a $300,000 product, a small fix in that can increase a ton of revenue. So It's like, are we looking for those type of connections? And who are those connections? Are they the CEOs, CMOs, COOs? I don't know who they might be. So now that we have kind of like that, okay, product, and now we got to figure out, okay, what is their issue? And that's where like your discovery call could come in. Obviously they already have pipelines. So like, how do we know if somebody has pipeline? Maybe they're Salesforce users, maybe they're HubSpot users, right? What applications can you work? So are they in those platforms? So in our specific case, for example, if when they come to our studio, they start recording the podcast and they don't have a CRM. And I'm like, man, like this is going to be a tough one, because we're like, well, have you worked with CRMs before? And it's like, what is it? It's going to be like, oh man, this is going to be a production only customer. And we're going to work for like 2 months and then the budget is going to run out. But if they come in like, hey, we have all these like workbook, we have all these flows on high level, or like we work with Salesforce, or we're in Hotspot and we communicate with the customers this way. And we really want this show, for example, to increase and provide like sales resources for them. We're going to send them a message every time. Oh, that's a good indicator. So what are those indicators for you? So let's say now you have Bob, CEO of the company, right? That you're like, oh, this company might be a good fit. Maybe now that's the time that you bring them into your platform to collaborate with them. So in your case, if you're doing a newsletter, same thing, like your audience is learning from you. So your audience is still Bob. So what happens is like, I'm going to bring Bob 2 to teach our other Bobs on how to XYZ, the topic of your newsletter. So is your newsletter, and this works with like literally any topic, because if you want to be known as like the UX guy, thing, perfect, go there. But we've seen people that create like a podcast that is like a personal topic. They just use the personal topic to connect with the decision makers. So like, I'll give you an example. We launched a football show. Yeah. Audience wise, the goal there is like to entertain. So there's no like, at least now, is there's no product, no nothing that's going to come out of that. But we want to connect with like very key people in the football world, because we want to develop those relationships. Right. So then that's our lead. It's the head of coaching for XYZ team, because maybe we want to sell a camp and he's our contact, right? So same thing. It could be your whatever topic that you have in your world. Again, I don't know what on the topic, but that could be like, hey, Bob, do you want to, again, we have this newsletter. It goes out every single week, 3 times a week. We've done it for the last few months. We're looking for people like you to bring this into, have a discussion about topic X. It might be a topic that maybe you see on their LinkedIn, right? That they're experts on. And then you have that conversation, whatever you need to gather the information so you can write it. And then after that call, that's when you'll be like, hey, Bob, I don't know if this is for you, but this is what I do. And you explain, I fix broken pipelines. I, increase this rate to this rate, and my customers and partners increase revenue by X% after a couple of months together. I would love for a way to collaborate. What about we hop on a call tomorrow so I can kind of walk you through a demo or like show you and see if there's an opportunity for both. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. I guess reflecting on some of the things so far is that it sounds like to me, just kind of reiterating that back, is like either ensure or kind of go over like what are those initial qualifications, making sure that's kind of dialed in, or at least understanding of what that is, and having those conversations, and I guess like when you're having those conversations, because right now I have been kind of putting this broadcasting, I have this free, just this discovery call for 30 minutes. Let's talk about if this newsletter is on a specific thing. I'll be like, if you have this issue, let's talk about it for 30 minutes. It's free. And because I would like to kind of do what you're saying exactly. I think it's just like getting people to start getting there, as I'm building, which I know will happen over time. But what it sounds like is like, if I can get people into that, then I can find out these things. And then I can also share that information that I've learned from that conversation into a new piece of content or newsletter, or we can even collab and cross post or whatever. Is that kind of the gist?
Correct. Mm-hmm. So are you a part of like maybe an online community, or like a community like in person that maybe they have, they have questions about the problems that you solve?
I think, I mentioned briefly about this Arizona entrepreneurs group. I'm in their school community. They have one for like their paid members and their regular members. I haven't posted in there because I just was like, I don't even know how to say what I'm trying to do or sell what I'm trying to do. And, and again, it goes back to, how can I clearly say this to someone that might not understand?
Yeah, I think probably a good starting point would be like, what is one problem that you solve? right? And go from there and be like, hey, I have background in UX design, and I'm Dana. I have background in UX design, and I currently solve problems like these. And then you list like 3 problems. My inbox is open if you have any questions. But also, apart from that, it's sometimes we just post on these groups and we expect people like, oh my gosh, that's my person, and to reach out. And it turns out that we need to be a little bit more proactive than that. So something that helped us at the beginning too, and still today, is outreach to those people in the group. So there's a couple of ways. One is if the group is active and they're asking questions. So in our specific case, there's a group of a platform called Buzzsprout. So Buzzsprout is a podcasting host. And these people, they have thousands and thousands of customers. They go into this Facebook group and they have questions about podcasting. Every week we hop in there and we answer some of these questions as in adding value. So we use it for 2 ways, for 2 reasons. One, to get ideas for our content. So if people are asking this question, they might not be the only one. So we're going to create a piece of content solving that, and that becomes a piece of content. And number 2, when we answer that question in that group, if it's super useful and insightful, people might like it, they might comment on it. And then we kind of keep an eye on those. And then we reach out through DMs. Be like, hey, Dana, I saw that you like this and thank me on the comment. Thank you so much, man. I would love to get to know you a little bit better. I would love to connect. And it's like, how can we get on conversations? Because then let's say that person be like, perfect, man. Like, I would love to chat with you. You send them your 20-minute booking link. Don't sell them, don't send them like a sales page or like a discovery call thing that says discovery, like it's a connection call. Let's chat. But in that call, then you're going to start asking those questions to be like, oh man, like what brought you to ask that question? Like, what are you working on? And you're going to find out what they're working on and be like, hey, same pitch. By the way, it comes from this book, so I highly recommend it.
I will. I will get that. Yeah, I love
it's
that.
It's like, hey, I don't know if this is for you, but like that's what I do. Like, will you like to explore the possibility of maybe working together, right, or collaborating? What does that look like? And you'll be very surprised. So it's like, how can we get into more conversations as soon as possible? I think is what you need to, because the more you have this conversation, the more you ask these questions, you're going to be like, man, that resonates. Or like, oh, maybe what they're saying, I don't enjoy doing that. Right. Like, so for example, we knew initially that we didn't want to go on location anymore to record. Like, and people were like, man, like, we were exhausted. We were like, we don't want to drive anymore. So if somebody would have said that in the conversation, we're like, nope, I'm sorry. Like, we deal with people that are already recording content. Right. I'm not even going to try to convince you to record content. So, and the only way to do that is like getting through those conversations. So I'll say, during your week, be like, okay, what is like my 1 hour a day where I'm going to go to these groups? And it could be that one, or it could be an online Facebook group or LinkedIn group, whatever platform you use the most. And then you can grab those questions and then they become content for your newsletter or your blog or how you write. Right. And then hopefully, that will kickstart some traction.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway that I really like too is just maybe focusing on that super specific problem, like you said, and then maybe just saying like, this is something specific that I do. And then there's 3 things you add to that. But yeah, I think that's really good. I've heard someone else say that, and then I strayed away from doing that for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I don't know why I also raised my hand.
It's so good.
Hate that. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think I also need to work on finding maybe more groups that are active and posting about either posting questions or just like, just being a little bit more active and things like that. There's search for
it could be think about Reddit forums. We came out of Facebook, so for us Facebook group was always a big one. LinkedIn, I think they have different,
They do. I haven't honestly explored LinkedIn groups too much, so that could be something I should just honestly.
Yeah, and then maybe 1 week pick a couple. If it's like a paid community, we've tend to see a little bit more qualified people out of those, just because they're not just looking for free information, right? So like an example is like we hopped on I think it was like Ed Milet's and Angie Frisella community once, like the Arate, I think it was called.
Okay.
And all these like dudes, entrepreneurs that wanted to be just like them, right? And obviously they publish a ton. So we're like, oh, maybe that's where we find a couple of people. And we did. But they were not our right people. So we're like, oh, they wanted a different type of stuff that we didn't enjoy producing. So we decided no more. But they were paying $500 a month. And we're like, okay, well, they have some money to invest in this. They might have some other, because like financially, the money for us is a big qualifier, right? At the end of the day, because content is a long-term play. Right. But for you, it could be like project based, right? So like another way is like, where are people posting jobs of the things that you can do, right? So, I don't know where those jobs boards are, but for us in content with Fiverr or things like that, and that could be the start of one job, but it can also be the start of a relationship, because, you're up there solving their specific problems. Messaging with them is also another lead capture that already has a ton of traffic. So it's like, okay, where can I find this pool of people? And at the same time, people are going to search you up. So you continue creating the content. I don't know how frequent you are, but like say on a weekly basis, on a couple of days a week or so. So you can always send them, be like, oh, this guy kind of knows. At that point, the content becomes that safety net, where it's like, they know. He knows what he's talking about. I can trust him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the dream, is that the content is like your magnet for bringing in clients. I was doing 3 days a week, and now I'm up to like 5 or 7 days a week, just because I have time. But
yeah. Apart from the email newsletter, do you publish content somewhere else?
So I mean, LinkedIn, there's LinkedIn short posts and videos, and then I'll repost the short videos to YouTube. So I would say like LinkedIn is the main one. I'm posting on there 3 to 7 days a week. 3 is the bare minimum. And then YouTube. And then sometimes if I have the time, or sometimes I'll post on maybe TikTok or something, but it really depends. But those are the main focal points, or discovery platforms.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. What do you think your next step is?
Right. I think, I mean, I don't know if I want to get lost in defining. I mean, I should define those qualifications more. Part of me thinks it's probably like, I'll have to do that as I'm talking and learning more, because I have this idea in my head, but it needs to be, I think, confirmed through actual conversation. So I think what I should do is write down what is that one thing that I want to offer, just like we just said, and then go in that group, that paid community that I am in, and their free community, and post the same thing and be like, hey, I do this. I've worked on maybe these 3 things, but I also have this newsletter if you just want to subscribe. And each week I, give away these things, insights or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's good. I know we're wrapping up, but here's like something that we did early on when we had no idea what we were going to sell. That helped a ton. So we're doing the 45 live challenge. So just me and Fonzie publishing the videos, and about, I think it was like day 10 or something, I posted a picture with like a big number 5 in it. And I was like, hey, I'm looking for 5 people to have a conversation about content. And I'm trying to learn a little bit more about, what the needs of the people that are listening to us are. And by the way, we're not pulling any kind of hundreds of numbers. Like this was like 5 people watching the videos. Like there's nothing, right? And about 20 people responded to that comment. It was crazy. I was like, what? Where are these people coming from? And they were from the communities, the Facebook groups that we were part of, the events that we're coming, and then my personal profile. They're like, dude, yeah, of course, I want to do this, and I have to find like that specific like thing that I did is like, hey, I just have 5 spots. I want to hop on a call and help you with content, right? We've done XYZ, and we do it. We jumped on the call with the 20 people, right? And we found out the pain points. So it can be something similar, right? Where it's like, hey, I'm just looking to hop on a call with, I have 5 slots next week that I want to provide as much value as possible. This is my background. This is what I've done. I want to help you with your UX design problem, for example, right? Or whatever. I said UX design in a general sense, but it could be whatever you decide to do. What happens is that you jump on these 20-minute calls, which for you are a way to discover, but also help them out. And it turns out that a few of those ended up being our first couple of customers because they told us what they needed. We kind of helped them identify, okay, here are 3 things that you can do. 1, 2, 3, go execute. And then we're on the back end. We're like, we can solve this. And then we came back to like, hey, by the way, we have a production product that we can help you with your problem. Would you be interested? And they'll be like, a few of them said yes. So I think like that's also a really cool. It could be like a weekly or a bi-weekly exercise that you do, either with your email list, if you already have one, right, with your newsletter, or with the communities that you're in.
Yeah, my first thought when you said that was doing a short, just like a short video type of deal as well. But yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you want to test it out, again, content's a hypothesis, right? It's like put it out wherever you feel like it's gonna, and then you're gonna be like, okay, we got results, or we didn't get results. Some people will say speed it up with ads, but not a lot of people know how to run ads. Right? For us, we had no idea how to run ads, so we're like, organic is the way for us. But yeah, in the communities that you're already like active, be that a step further. Send that same message to every single one of your connections on LinkedIn, for example, right? That takes a little bit more time, but it could be like, okay, let me do, 10 a day. Because at the end of the day, we want to have those conversations as fast as possible to kind of figure out what the market wants. Because I might be thinking, hey, they need this, but they don't want it. And that's really the part of the issue.
Yeah. I like that idea. I think once I just have that thing that I do, that offer that I want to focus on initially, I think then that'll be a lot easier to send out those DMs or things like that.
Here's a challenge. Ready?
Okay.
Don't wait to have the thing.
Okay.
Go in with a curious mind. So imagine you're sending me a message, right? Be like, hey, Luis, we've been connected here for a while. And I'm working on this new project. I'm super excited, but I need to learn a little bit more about the industry and kind of, where it stands. I have my theories. Will you be open to hop on an 11-minute call with me and talk about UX design?
Mm-hmm.
Keep it general.
Okay.
Because let's say you send the same outreach. It's a little bit more open, right? And then people might be curious, be like, what about UX design? Be like, oh, I want to talk about topic 1, 2, 3. Maybe the top 3 that you want to do as a product, right?
Right.
I'm happy to share like all the secrets that help you with your big pain points. Awesome. I think most people say yes to like that short of a call, and then just account on your side for like 20 to 30 minutes in your calendar. So that way, if you run over, you have that wiggle room.
Okay.
Versus, hey, Luis, same thing that I said. I would love to help you with your retention problem, right? For example. People don't like to accept they have problems. So that's number 1. And second, I'll be like, I don't have a retention problem, right? But maybe there's other opportunities along their pipeline design, for example, right? That they might not be aware. And because we're so specific, sometimes it might be, and it's a game, right? A lot of people are like niche down, sure, on messaging and some stuff. But when we're trying to figure out like what are the thing that we're gonna sell, we might need to be a little bit more, broad. So I would challenge you, maybe send a few of those messages without being so specific and see what happens, right? That's how we found our multi-purposing. We thought people wanted us to go show up and do the thing at their events. And they're like, no, we already have a ton of that. What if we send it to you? And we're like, that's even better.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully it was helpful. I know we're at the top of the hour, but do you have any other questions or thoughts?
No, I'm just, I guess one thing I was just curious, like, what are your guys' next steps with this kind of program and stuff like that? And
yeah, dude, absolutely. Good question. So one is, if you're on Facebook, I would love for you to be on the challenge. I don't know if you already signed up or
I have it. I have a Facebook, never get on it anymore, but maybe this is the thing.
Yeah, dude, come in. And it's on our group. So it's like super awesome people that are like in a similar boats. Here, let me send you. I'll send you the link. It's started today. So and it's completely free. If you want to come in and start it and then you stop it, I'll be a little disappointed, but not mad. I just put it there in the chat if you wanna come join us. That's one. So we'll be doing that for the next like couple of weeks. And then you're already in Business Creator Club. You already have like the $1 one. So we're gonna encourage people to move to the Business Creator Club after the challenge is done.
Okay.
On the club, we're building that right now. It's going to be a circle community, but we're going to be talking about this kind of thing. So we're going to have like weekly Q&As, and we're going to bring people that have helped us that are incredible. Some of them have been guests in the show that have a ton more experience doing this thing. So they're going to be doing workshops and sessions, and then kind of uncovering this for you guys, hopefully providing you the tools. So we talk a lot about the 6 levers. Cool. So messaging, creation, production, distribution, monetization, and ops. So in each one of those, it's going to be content right below, but we're going to build it. I need the feedback initially to be like, what is the thing that we build first, so you guys can have a big win. The feedback that I gotten so far has been on the monetization side. So I think we're probably going to do either a masterclass that's included obviously with a membership, or I don't want to call it a course, but like a resource to where it's like, hey, here's how we monetize the platform. Kind of what I told you about bring the guests to your platform, collaborate, and then do the next steps for the discovery calls. Yeah. Because we need to have conversations as fast as possible with the decision makers and not be super passive with like, my content is going to do the work for me. It eventually will if we become good creators. So
it's easy to do, I guess, to get passive in that. But yeah, that sounds cool. I think that'd be a great, on top of that, networking opportunity for people like me to meet other people. The same.
100%. Yeah, you guys are going to be able to build your own profiles there with the, what you do and how you do and connect with each other, which I think it's like what excites me the most, because I mean, we just had the party last Thursday. We had about 30 people on that call, and like there's this couple that they didn't know each other and they lived across the street from each other, also in Arizona, by the way. And it was like, what? And so they met the next day and they started collaborating on different projects. So I think that's super cool that it just happened.
I love that. If I can find someone that lives across the street and we could be friends in the same. That's cool. That's really cool.
That's awesome, man. Cool. But come join us, man. And obviously, you're already in it, so just wait for a couple of emails. But the phone number that I texted you and that email, if you have any questions, man, follow-ups, and you're trying things, send them there. And as soon as the community opens, I'll just send you the login, so that way you can go in and start digging around and go from there. But
cool. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No, absolutely, man.